Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and today we're going to be going over the 2019 Chevy Blazer. It has actually been quite a while since we have seen the Chevy Blazer, but they finally reintroduced it. As always, we'll do a quick walk around on the Blazer, and then we'll take it out to see how it drives. And then this vehicle is being provided to us by Larry H. Miller Chevy here in Murray, so if you're on the market for a new Chevy, definitely check these guys out. And then as always, if you are stopping for the first time, I'd really appreciate it if you subscribed. Under the hood here, we have a couple different engine options. You can either get a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder or a 3.6 liter V6. This particular one has the V6 option in it. In terms of power outputs, with the 4-cylinder you can get 193 horsepower and 188 pound-feet of torque. With the V6 you jump up to 308 horsepower and 270 pound-feet of torque. Those both go through a 9-speed automatic transmission. And then in terms of fuel economy, it's going to be 21 combined, 18 around town, and then 25 on the highway. So I'm going to try something a little bit different with the channel today. I'm going to go over all of the lights, but I'm actually going to turn them on now instead of just leaving them off and describing them. So you can see the LED accent lighting right there, and then you can see the projector bulbs just down below. It's definitely an interesting look for the Blazer. I love the top lights. It kind of very much so reminds me of the Camaros. We can look at the overall design on the front end of the Blazer. One of my favorite areas on it is actually this little line that goes across the hood. This other one too I really like, but just that crease and how you can see in this silver paint just how the sunlight catches that. It looks absolutely phenomenal. And then of course we get our Chevy bow tie logo front and center, and then they kind of black out the rest of the grille to make this look a little bit sportier. So around the side here we have some 18-inch wheels, and they've got all-season tires on them. Pretty standard setup for an SUV. Blazer logo is on the side of the Blazer as well, so that you know exactly what you're driving. So up back here, here's the key fob for the Blazer. Chevy's upgraded key fob. Got the bow tie on the back, but you got a couple functions on this. So if your regular lock and unlock, tailgate release, and remote start, we'll do the remote start function first. So you press that, and then you hold this remote start button down actually, and then that will start up the Blazer. You'll see that it'll do a little bit of a start, and then you just have to press that button again, and then that will shut it right off. And then the other function on the tailgate is you just press that button twice on the key fob. That'll do the power lift function on the tailgate. You'll see that'll open right up. And then if we pop to the back of the Blazer, we can see there's a ton of storage space back here. This is actually, for the segment that this vehicle is in, this is definitely a good amount. They give you a couple little extra pockets just down there, and then if we pick this up we can see that you do get a spare tire. A lot of manufacturers are offering fix-a-flat kits, but it's nice to have a traditional spare. And then wrapping things up in the back, they actually make the floor mats go all the way in the back of the seat, so that when you do this function right here and you throw the seat down, then you don't have to get the backs of the seats dirty. It's easier to clean up the rubber portion than it is if it was on the cloth back. And then to close the tailgate, all you have to do is just press this button right here, and then the tailgate will do the closing function on it. And then now that the tailgate's closed, let's just go over the rear. So this is an all-wheel drive model, so it says all-wheel drive on the back. I love these new taillights. So these are, you can see the little LEDs in here. It just has a really cool look to the cluster. And the rear of the Blazer, just like modern look wise, definitely is a modern looking SUV, but it has a really cool like sporty look to it. And then finally finishing things up in the rear, we can see the dual exhaust tips in the back here. There is a bezel there if you get a tow package on the Blazer, and then there are some parking sensors integrated into the bottom here. The Blazer does this cool little line where it kind of does like the floating roof, so they have a black line here, so then the roof is kind of like disconnected from the rest of the SUV. A lot of new SUVs are doing that feature. So step around the side, we actually have keyless entry for the front and the rear. I love when manufacturers do this. So you press that to lock it, and then you press it again, and that'll unlock the rear door. And we can look at the door panel for the rear here. So you have this nice leather padding here, some contrasted stitching, window controls right there, and then you can see the little door handle. It actually has a premium feel. We'll throw the seat back up for you so you can see the rear seats. This particular one is the cloth trim package, so you can see that the seats in here, it's full cloth, but they kind of do this like quilting design on the seats. They do have some nice stitching that goes down the center of them. And then those rubber floor mats are carried into the rear as well. You can see there's a couple USB charging stations back here, vents as well. In terms of legroom, the rear has plenty of legroom. And then to finally wrap things up, we do get some cup holders in the rear, so there's that little center console. Now the front has that same keyless entry as the rear, so one touch to lock it, and then you press it again to unlock it. The door panel for the front is going to look identical to the door panel that you have in the rear. This is actually for your tailgate. You can see there's a couple different modes that you can do on the tailgate, which is nice if you don't want it fully open. All of your window controls are going to be right here, mirror controls there. You can see right here your lock and unlock, and then door handle. So we're actually switching sides for a minute so I can go over the seat, because sunlight over there, horrible shadows. But these are the front seats. They have that same kind of like quilted cloth design on them. They look really, really neat. And this is actually probably the interior package that a lot of people are gonna get if they don't go for like the fully loaded decked out leather bad boy. But the bolsters on them aren't super aggressive, so they're comfortable and they look cool. Now the front seat here does have full power, and then you do get that lumbar adjustment. We can see the pedal layout in the bottom right here, and then we do get a control for the parking brake right here, automatic headlights and all that. And stepping into the Blazer, stepping height's actually really good. It's really easy to get in and out of, being an SUV. That's the button to start it up. It's kind of cool that they put it up on the dash. Gauges will do a sweep once you start it up in traditional fashion. The steering wheel here on the Blazer is actually pretty neat. So Chevy logo front and center, nicely wrapped with leather, more stitching on the inside of the steering wheel. We have a bunch of controls here in this area. So we actually have this little control panel. That's for the center screen right there. We'll go over that momentarily, but you have your regular Bluetooth and voice command controls with your phone controls, and then your cruise controls on the other side. There are little rocker panels on the back of the steering wheel to control the radio stations, so that you can go like control volume, radio without taking your hands off the steering wheel. Now in the center here, we've got the gauge cluster. So on the left hand side, we've got the RPMs. On the right hand side, we've got the speedometer, and then you've got your fuel gauge and temperature gauge up above. And then like I said, there's that little center stack you can scroll between. So you use this dial right here to go up and down, but then you use the buttons on the side to scroll through the different bits of menus that you can go through. But I'm just gonna scroll through these so you guys can see the different bits of information on the vehicle. There's a bunch of different menus that you can go through on this. It's a pretty configurable center stack. This is the touchscreen in the Blazer. You can see here that it functions as a touchscreen, but then you also get some analog controls here to kind of double up on that. But I really like this infotainment system. You can see Android Auto and Apple CarPlay with it, but it's just a really responsive touchscreen. It's definitely one of the better ones in the business in terms of response time and just overall usability. And then while we are on the touchscreen, we can actually go over the camera system. So you can pop that on at any time. And actually, if we pop the Blazer into reverse, you'll notice that nothing will change because this is the backup camera, but you do get trajectory lines that'll turn with the steering wheel on the Blazer. And then if you press this little button here, it has a line that'll line up with a trailer. Now just below the infotainment screen, this is actually my favorite part of the Blazer, believe it or not. So these are all your analog climate controls. You have your controls for the fan speed and all that. This does come with heated seats on it as well. But this is the cool part. So these are the vents. So to open or close them, you just do that little dial right there. But then to increase the temperature, decrease the temperature, you literally spin the vent. I think that's the coolest thing ever. It's a little bit gimmicky, but I think it's so cool, and I wish other manufacturers would do fun stuff like this. And then there are some more USB and USB 2 ports right there. So there's a little bit of extra storage here. Regular cup holders here. Here's that shifter. It's pretty traditional. You've got your drive and your low. This is the fun part over here though, is the different drive modes. So you can see you can switch between them. And I'm gonna go through all these different modes. You just turn the gear. So you turn this over and then it will pop up in the screen right here and it'll go into the mode, and then right here it says all-wheel drive because we are in 4x4. But then you do have like a sport mode as well that you can see that'll pop up there, and then you do have an off-road mode on top of that, and then you do have lastly a towing mode. Now here we can see the center console there. It's got some stitching on it, padded with leather, but we can open that up and you can see there's quite a bit of storage space in here, more charging stations. And then on the topic of storage space, the glove box, to open it up, you actually press a button. That'll pop down the glove box. All your owner's manuals will be in there. And then in terms of size, this is actually a pretty decent size. It's pretty normal size for the segment. And it's funny that the stability control button is right next to the glove box. So when you try to open the glove box, maybe you accidentally turn off the stability control. Wrapping things up on the Blazer, the interior is definitely very upscale on the Blazer. This is like a middle of the line trim, and how they have the nice stitching on the dash and all the leather and soft touch. It's definitely unexpected compared to what you normally see in this segment, so that's a huge plus on the Blazer. But that all being said, let's take the 2019 Blazer out to see how it drives. We are setting off here on the Blazer, and of course my allergies are deciding to act up again as soon as I start filming, but that's just my luck. Setting off initially in the Blazer, and the cabin's actually really, really quiet so far, and the ride quality so far is really smooth. There's not a whole lot that you hear coming into here. Visibility throughout the Blazer is actually pretty good. So visibility through the rear view mirror is actually good. Over both shoulders, visibility as well is really good. The only thing is in the rear, just because of how they do that sloped roof, the windows out the rear are a little bit smaller, but they still give you windows, and so it definitely helps out with visibility back there. Now, in terms of visibility over the hood, super easy to see over this hood. They kind of slope it down for design purposes, but then it also helps out with seeing over the hood, and the hood kind of will just have like this, it kind of like abruptly ends, if that makes sense, and so it's really easy just to see over it. Steering feel and turning radius on this turns really sharp. The steering on it's really light, and so it's pretty easy to just drive the car in general. It's not a difficult car to drive. It just has light, effortless steering. Back onto ride quality and road noise. Ride quality is really smooth with this SUV, and road noise, there's not a whole lot of road noise coming in the cabin, so this is something that you would be able to put like a ton of miles on really comfortably, and it's something that you could very easily drive every single day. Let's get an acceleration with this bad boy Blazer. That transmission goes through the gears really quickly. Like, it downshifted to the right in the power band where I needed really quickly, and I'll tell you right now, the V6, more than enough power. This actually, for this SUV, it is more than adequate. I don't feel the need for any more power. That being said, now the choice is going to be, do you want the 4-cylinder or the V6? This is one of those vehicles where it's a small enough size that you could go for the 4-cylinder, and that'll be enough power as well. You get a little bit better fuel economy, but out of the two, you guys know I always favor a little bit more power, and the V6, the fuel economy on it's strong enough that if you can make it work to get the V6, I would go for the V6 route, because you're gonna have a lot more fun with that power. Your passing abilities on the interstate and all that are gonna be so much better. To sum things up on the Blazer, if you're looking for a very like sporty, cool looking SUV, and then if you get the V6, you're gonna have kind of some sporty driving as well on top of that, this is definitely the route to go. It looks so much better than a lot of other SUVs on the market currently, and with Chevy's, you know, upgrade that they've done on the interior and with their technology, it's definitely a step above. And so if you are in the market for a regular sized SUV is what I would call it, definitely check out the new Blazer. And there we have it, everyone, the 2019 Chevy Blazer. Thank you everyone so much for watching. As always, if you're stopping for the first time, I'd really appreciate if you subscribe, comment down below what you thought, and then a big shout out and thank you to Chevy here in Murray for providing us with the vehicle. If you're on the market for a new Chevy, definitely check out Larry H. Miller over here. But I will see all of you in that next video.